Welcome, everybody. The Last of Us
Yep.
is a game. Have you played the game?
No, I want to, but I haven't played it yet.
Have you seen the TV series?
No, I want to, but I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it is a blockbuster. Both of them, but the game was a blockbuster. The TV series has taken the world by storm. My girlfriend got into it, and she wanted me to then play the game.
Yeah.
I said I'd do an episode on the podcast instead.
Yeah,
So
good enough.
That was the balance. But yeah, it is a fairly unique take on zombies.
Yes.
And that's what we're covering today. Zombies. What are the likelihood? Because a lot of zombie films, if you go back to like Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead, that sort of thing, they are very much paranormal zombies. There's no real sort of explanation as to why they came around.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and obviously then you've got like The Walking Dead, which I know you've seen.
Oh, I love The Walking Dead.
Love The Walking Dead, which is more of an infection-based thing. So they've tried to sort of science it up. The Last of Us has gone one step further, and they have taken the idea of a real life phenomenon, really. Zombie funguses.
Okay.
So the fungus has somehow managed to get into the flour that we're producing on Earth, and then it gets into baked goods, bread, cakes, biscuits, stuff like that, and that's how it infects the population. And in fairness, like one of the things that I really like, because I only ever witnessed the original game of The Last of Us. I haven't tried the new remastered version, but the way they did it, and the way that the TV program carries it on as well, is that you can see this progression in the zombies. Whereas a lot of like zombie films and series and stuff, the zombies are the living dead, and they'll sort of live forever as long as they got brains to eat or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Brains.
yeah, brains. Whereas in The Last of Us, you can see this progression of the zombies as, they're starting to get pustules of fungus growing out of their faces and stuff like that. And eventually they turn into these clickers that are just basically, they've had it. They've got no energy left, and they just find themselves a little dark corner, and they die, and they turn to slime and spread the spores out elsewhere and that sort of thing.
They're the things that look like walking giant mushrooms.
Yeah. So... I like the way that they've actually tried to pull science and make it more believable. And I believe I haven't seen the TV, but my girlfriend told me that it kind of explains the theory of it in the first 5 minutes. In that the global temperature has to heat up for this fungus to actually activate in a way that could actually spread to humans. And the fungus that they use in The Last of Us is called Cordyceps.
Okay, that's a nice word.
Yeah, that's the genus name is Cordyceps. There are thousands of different permutations, species, if you like, of these Cordyceps. And they primarily infect insects. Quite often wasps, moths, tarantulas will get infected. The fungus has pretty much only got to land on them, and it'll eat its way in. And literally, it starts literally eating the bugs and converting the proteins that it is consuming into these like little fine tendrils that then grow through the bug, and it's called a mycelium. Now, mycelium grow under the ground normally, and that is the living part of mushrooms. The mushrooms themselves only come out sort of once a year to spread the spores. The mycelium is the living, thriving part of the fungus. Okay. And cordyceps entwine these mycelium through like the body, the abdomen of like tarantulas and wasps and stuff like that, and moths. And basically just eat it away from the inside out.
Wow. Okay. So can I just ask this cordyceps thing? Can you actually see it? It's not like minuscule or anything. It
Oh
does
yeah, the spores are microscopic,
yeah.
or very very not visible with the naked eye, but
Hmm.
obviously as it grows, it'll start actually growing out through the exoskeleton or skin or whatever insect it's infected, and much like the pustules that come out of the zombie in The Last of Us, these things literally start sprouting stalks and then creating like spore pods so
So
they can spread more cordyceps
it
to
does
other.
kind of kill it from the inside out.
Yeah. Now, there's a reason why this particular fungus is known as the zombie fungus,
Hmm.
and it's most famously to do with ants.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, the zombie fungus most famously affects ants. Now, when the fungus it infects the ant, uh, it takes a little while for it to activate. The ant just carries on scurrying around doing his little anti business until it actually takes over the ant's brain. And then the ant acts very differently. It decides to seclude itself from the rest of its. What do you call a collection of ants? A hive?
A plethora.
A plethora.
A plethora of ants.
The colony. It separates from its colony,
Right.
and it will decide to go and climb a bush or a tree or particularly tall grass where it will attach itself to the underside of a leaf. It literally gets its mandibles and just bites down on the leaf, and that's where it stays. That's where it ends its life, mate. It will go no further.
I thought you were going to say it climbs up and jumps off. And
No, because this is exactly what the cordyceps want it to do. They want it to get somewhere nice and high and just latch on and stay there. And then the cordyceps, again, start growing their mycelium through the little ant body. The ant dies, although his death grip is already it's
Latched on.
fastened, it's latched on. Yeah, so the ant won't fall off, and the fungus starts growing through the skeleton of the ant, its shell, and then it'll start growing little stalks out with these little spore pods that then rain down onto the other ants.
Oh, affecting the whole plethora.
And then
of
the cycle begins again. So more ants get infected, they all wander off, find a high place, and it just keeps happening. So
Wow.
that's how it spreads, and that's why it's called the zombie fungus, because it makes the ant act differently to its normal, regular behaviour.
So I'm guessing it makes it more docile and just doesn't do what it's supposed to do, which is go and collect things and bring it back to the hive and stuff. It's not a hive, is it?
Colony. Let's go with colony.
Yeah, it's got to be colony.
Yeah.
Army. It's an army of ants.
Well, I suppose some ants are called army ants, yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it completely affects the behaviour of the ant. And this is not actually an uncommon thing in the world of like funguses and parasites and that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. So this has happened a lot through history and things.
There are many things that will alter the way insects act. Like there's a parasite that lives inside starlings and that and birds that when it gets sort of pooed out,
Right.
it'll in fact I've got it. There's one called the green-banded brood sac. I think that's a parasite rather than a fungus. I think a brood sac is a type of parasite.
Yeah.
It lives in the stomach of a bird, gets pooed out accidentally or otherwise, whether it intends to, and it just stays there in the poo until a snail slimes over it. Now, as we know, snails are just a mass of slime that gets more solid as it gets toward the outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when the green-banded brood sacs kind of get sucked up by the snail, they work its way through the slime, and then it starts. I guess it affects the brain in some way, but it's actually the eye stalks.
Right. Okay.
That really you can notice that it is an infected snail because the eye stalks will get really thick and pulsate with these patterns and colours, and for all the world, they look like caterpillars.
What?
Well, you can imagine a snail with eyes that look like caterpillars is like having a massive sign over its head to birds to come and eat it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's exactly what happens. Because it's got these eyes that just won't stop moving and they're pulsating with these colours and patterns, bird sees it, thinks, oh, lunch. Gobbles it up. Parasite's back in the bird gut where it can breed and it's nice at home.
Now that is clever.
It is clever.
Okay, so the starlings eat the snails that have caterpillar eyes.
Yeah.
And then they carry on the parasite that was originally in their poop.
Yeah.
So it's like a full life cycle again.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's intense.
It is. There's going back to the more fungal side of things. There is a fungus known as Massospora.
Oh, that sounds like a death metal band.
Yeah, it's quite a cool name, isn't it? Massospora cicardina is a fungus that lives around cicada beetles.
Okay.
Have you ever seen or heard of a cicada beetle?
Are they the ones that when they fly they make loud noises?
They make loud noises
Yeah.
all the time. It's kind of like...
Yes.
Just it sounds like an engine going constantly.
Yeah.
Except if you rattle a tree, they all shut up for about 3 seconds and then they start up again.
Yeah, they're quite big as well, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, they can be. Yeah, they can be quite big. Now, cicadas, with the beetle version that we actually see above ground, they only live for like a few weeks.
Oh,
Say
okay.
about 6 weeks or so. And that's their mating cycle. They'll live for years and years under the ground. And Massospora cicardina particularly likes they're known as 13 or 17 year periodical cicadas, which means they've spent 13 or 17 years under the ground as grubs, eating dirt and doing what grubs do. And then when it comes to their natural mating time, they sort of convert themselves into a beetle, however that happens, a pupa or whatever, and they work their way up through the soil where the Massospora is waiting for them. The Massospora covers the cicada on its way out of the soil.
Right.
And then the beetle hits the surface, flies or climbs up a tree or whatever, develops its wings and starts chirping away to try and find a mate. But that doesn't happen for about another couple of weeks. They don't become sexually active for at least another 2 weeks. In which time, Massospora, again, is eating its way through the abdomen, eating the organs, spreading its mycelium.
Oh, man.
And eventually, it will pretty much always eat its way through the genitalia of the cicada.
So it can't mate.
It can't mate. But
That's cruel.
Massospora isn't finished there. When it actually comes time for the cicada to mate, Massospora produces and releases a chemical which is the same as found in psychedelic mushrooms.
Nice.
Floods the cicada with this chemical and some kind of chemical that is similar to like an amphetamine. So this cicada is now drugged to high heaven, and it's horny.
Wow.
It's got no genitals, but it's suddenly it's horny, and it goes on a sex crazed like outing. And it is trying to attract as many females as possible, trying to cheer up away, and then obviously when the female comes and they try to mate, Massospora infects her.
Oh no.
And
I think
then
I know where this is going to
goes
go.
off, and then a male will try and mate with her, and that gets infected, and then it spreads, and obviously it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. Where you find cicadas, you will find Massospora, and where you find Massospora, you will find cicadas.
That's ruthless.
And it really is like a mind-altering thing for the cicada.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't act in its normal behaviour. It is absolutely sex-craved.
And you say these things live for like 13 to 17 years?
Under the ground, yeah, in their first stage of life.
Wow.
Live as grubs under the ground, and then they'll convert to a beetle, work their way to the surface, and when their wings dry out and stuff, that's when they start becoming sexually mature.
I bet the mayfly looks at them and just thinks you're taking the mick. Living for 24 hours, and then these guys get 17 years.
And 6 weeks to reproduce.
Yeah. What a horrible predicament to be in, to have no genitals, but feel the need to just go running around.
It would be horrible,
everything.
wouldn't it?
Oh, mate. That's crazy. That is ruthless and terrible.
It is. But these are some of the funguses, and there was a parasite in there that affect insects. You know, they don't really affect anything that's much bigger than an insect. Like in my research, the tarantula I think is the biggest thing that I found that could be infected by the cordyceps, and I think that it's largely because a lot of animals, not so much maybe dolphins and great apes and stuff like that are more intelligent, but a lot of animals don't have the two separate parts of the brain. Like humans have the cerebrum and the cerebellum, and the cerebellum is kind of this little bit at the bottom and the back of your brain.
Oh, is it the top of the spine kind of thing?
Yeah. And that is kind of like your animal instincts are in there. So that would be the part that the fungus could manipulate, if you like. Whereas because most of our thinking and everything goes on elsewhere in the brain, you kind of need both. Humans need both parts of their brain really to function properly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Whereas animals quite often don't have that cerebral cortex. They just have the cerebellum, which is why they're just drones, ants and wasps and stuff like that are just, they just go about their business. They don't have emotions or anything like that, feelings.
Yeah, they're kind of bottom of the food chain, aren't they?
Yeah, but their brains are obviously easier to rewire that way because, it's not such a complicated brain.
Yeah.
The higher you go up species, the more species develop, like we say, when we get to dolphins and great apes and stuff like that. These funguses just don't have a chance.
So I'm guessing they just wouldn't even survive in the brain of like a chimp or a dolphin. It just wouldn't exist.
No, probably not.
I got you.
No, and as well, obviously the more developed the species is, the greater its immunoresponse is going to be. So, funguses and that sort of thing that get into the body is probably going to get attacked by the white blood cells and, the immune system.
Yeah.
Before it can actually, get to the brain, take over, turn anybody into a zombie. And it doesn't matter. The Last of Us can try and tell us that global warming is going to be responsible for it, but I just don't see that happening.
Okay, so lucky we are humans and not insects.
We are humans, and none of these things can affect humans
at the moment. You never know.
So it got me thinking, because you trumped me last week with the Loch Ness Monster, and I've got to make a comeback. So I thought, what can affect humans?
Oh, okay.
And I went on a bit of a dive on this one, and I found a couple of things that are interesting.
Couple of things.
Yeah, a couple of interesting things.
A whole page of notes.
So, funguses can't. As we said with the green-banded brood sacs, it's more of a parasite.
I love that word.
It's good, isn't it? It's lovely. It sounds so pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible little thing. But the parasites do seem to have more of an effect. And there are some that can affect your brain, can get into your brain and affect the way that you think.
Okay.
One of them I'm not going to touch in this video because in this podcast because I think it might make a decent episode on its own.
Okay.
But the two that I discovered are quite interesting. One is literally called the brain-eating amoeba.
I wonder what that's about.
Right, so the amoeba is a single-celled organism found largely in stagnant water, but sort of warmer environments, particularly like sort of tropical environments, warm water but stagnant, where it's not oxygenated very well. Sometimes they'll survive in slow-moving water. Sometimes they'll even be found in like swimming pools that haven't got enough chlorine in them and stuff like that. You know, people don't take care of their swimming pool, suddenly they can get infected. Now, what happens is if you like get water in your mouth or a bit up your nose or something, it sort of inhale a bit of water unintentionally, and that's got an amoeba in it. That amoeba makes a beeline for your brain.
It just knows.
It just goes. It gets into your blood system, and it's because it's only a single-celled organism. It's literally the same size as a blood cell, so it can just get straight past all your defences, straight into your brain, and it starts eating.
Oh, that's good.
Literally, your neural matter starts getting eaten away. It obviously causes headaches and that sort of thing. Your body will respond. It has an immune system. The immune system kicks into gear, but because it's focusing on your brain, it's pushing all these extra blood cells and you know, fluids and stuff like that starts building up in your brain, and the pressure inside your skull increases. Now, obviously, your skull is good and solid for a reason, to protect your brain from bumps, bangs, you know, knocks and scrapes. But when something's actually in there attacking you from the inside out, that bone isn't helping you because the pressure's building up, and it'll eventually sort of disrupt the connection with your spinal cord. So a lot of people, when they actually get amoeba attacks, the headaches and neck ache in particular is a very definite sign.
Please tell me there's a cure.
Unfortunately, mate, 99% of all amoeba infections since the amoeba was discovered in 1965, 99% have been fatal.
Wow, that's scary, and I don't like that.
It's not nice. Most people die within a week of being infected by an amoeba.
Jiminy crickets. That's
Yeah,
not
you
long.
ain't got long.
No.
You go diving in a stagnant pool of water, you got a week, mate.
Okay, so avoid stagnant water then.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'm guessing you can get this all around the world.
Mostly in like more tropical climate, warmer climates, because it prefers like a warmer sort of environment. But yeah, I mean, there's potentially nowhere that it can't go. It's a single-celled organism, you know. It's not susceptible to the same kind of environmental problems that we have to encounter.
And I imagine it's one of them things, once you kind of realise about the pressure and stuff, it's too late.
It's too late, mate.
Yeah, okay. That is quite scary.
It is ridiculous, yeah. In fact, it's thought that, this is going to be a weird one, I think it was Disneyland, Florida, bought like an island of land in the park, and they opened it up as like a sort of a wildlife sanctuary for people visiting Disneyland, Disney World, whatever it is, and then it just got closed down.
Okay.
No one's allowed on the island now. It's off limits, and it's thought that it's because amoeba were found in the water around the island in Disneyland.
Oh, if it can get there, it can get anywhere. But well, Traditionally.
That's not confirmed.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's speculation that it's down to an amoeba, but that is a very plausible explanation as to why they just abandoned the place and no one's allowed in there anymore, because these things are so fatal. I mean, they don't alter your brain, though. They don't turn you into a zombie. And that's what I'm looking for, Josh. That's what I want. I need to find something that will actually make you zombified.
Classified as a zombie.
Yeah, now, see, as a zombie, what we're looking at is slow movement, lethargic, unresponsive.
Yeah.
You know,
because they say like zombie-like state, don't they?
Yeah, but also aggressive and hungry, I guess.
Hungry for brains. Yeah.
Now, I've got one here that covers most of these attributes.
Okay.
And this one, I'm gonna do a Josh now, because this one's quite a hard one to pronounce. Trypanosoma brucei.
Nailed it. That's exactly how you say it.
Thank you. I'm glad I got your approval on that one.
I know that word very well, and you done
that.
Yeah,
you use it every day, don't you? Yeah.
Trypanosoma brucei. Perfect. Rolls off the tongue. Yeah.
Right. So there's an easier way of saying it. It's otherwise known as African sleeping sickness.
Okay. That sounds nicer than the other one, which is the brain-eating amoeba.
Yeah, it sounds nicer. Unfortunately, it's not actually that nice.
Oh, that's a misleading, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It comes when you get bitten by, this is another word, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce, tsetse fly? When you get bitten by a tsetse fly.
Sexy fly.
A sexy fly. Tsetsi fly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right? So pronounce that how you want. Yeah, they're the ones that carry this parasite, and it gets into your blood and into your system. And this is known as stage 1. Stage one of 2. Stage 1 is treatable.
Okay. Yeah.
If you can actually get medical treatment while you're still in stage 1, you can get rid of this African sleeping sickness.
Am I right in thinking that's similar to rabies, or is rabies?
No, it's not really similar to rabies. I mean, in stage 1, the symptoms that it causes are generally fever, joint pain, headaches, and that's pretty much it. It makes you feel like you got a bad bout of flu, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
You
so
know?
Kind of normal symptoms.
Yeah. You wouldn't really think it's that much different to just having a cold or something like that. But that is, while it is changing, it mutates, because the brain has something, a blood-brain barrier or something, I think it's called.
Okay.
And the Trypanosoma brucei can't get into your brain in its original form that it gets passed on by the fly.
Okay,
so
right.
It mutates through several different forms, getting smaller and smaller as it goes, until it can get into your brain.
Oh, this doesn't sound good.
This is where you are literally knackered, mate. Stage 2. No cure.
No cure.
You reach stage 2, your time's up, mate. Your days are numbered.
100% fatality.
But this is where we start seeing zombification.
Okay.
Because once it gets into your brain, it literally starts like rewiring your neural network. And it starts off that obviously you're already feeling a bit poorly. You've got fevers and joint pains and headaches and stuff like that. You start developing, your sleep gets disturbed. You get very disturbed sleep. It causes tremors. People uncontrollably like convulsing and stuff like that. The personality starts changing. They have aggressive outbursts. They become very argumentative and not very compliant. They have odd speech patterns. Where they say stuff just in a weird way that they wouldn't normally say things. They have a loss of appetite, and it just gets worse.
That sounds horrendous.
Yeah, I mean that's just the start of it. Over the course of maybe a couple of weeks, this person becomes more and more unresponsive, disorientated, lethargic, and obviously from the confusion and the low responsiveness of them, it just gets worse and worse until they are literally just a zombie. And you might live like a zombie for a day or two before you just can't get out of bed anymore.
Yeah.
And you are comatose until the point where your organs start shutting down, and eventually your brain and your heart just stop, and that's it. You're done.
And that's
that is when you have become a clicker.
A clicker. that's the closest thing.
That is the closest thing today.
Yeah.
That's actually out there that I can find to actual zombification.
When you read the symptoms there and you were going through them, I was actually in my mind going, oh no, I've got that. And then you said loss of appetite, and I went, oh no, definitely haven't got that.
No, you ain't got loss of appetite, mate. You're no zombie. You're fine.
No, that's crazy.
But there you go. I've done it. Zombies are real.
That is impressive.
They may only live for a couple of weeks once they've been infected.
Mm-hmm.
They're certainly not going to come and try and... Well, they might come and try and eat your brains out. I don't know. But with a loss of appetite, I doubt it. They can become aggressive. They can become like lethargic and, that's unresponsive, disorientated, confused. That's that typical, I'm a zombie.
Yeah. Which I'd rather that than the zombies in 28 Days Later. Because if that ever became real, there wouldn't be a world to live in. No. That would be insane.
Nah, super quick zombies and that. It's not fun, are they? Yeah. What was the other one? Was it World War Z or something?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they start climbing up each other to get up walls and stuff.
No, I don't think anyone with African sleeping sickness is going to be doing that.
No.
But, that's the thing, isn't there? There's almost too many different types of zombie to try and actually classify.
Yeah.
So, but that is... the one that I thought when I read about this and heard about it, I thought that is the closest that you can get.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's impressive research.
It's not a fungus.
No.
So The Last of Us is wrong. It's not a fungus. It's a fly bite.
Sexy fly bite.
Sexy fly bite.
Yeah. So you said funguses don't affect humans, but parasites certainly can.
Parasites definitely can. Yeah. There are some other parasites that, like I say, have sort of mind-altering effects as well. But we might cover that in a different episode. Today, I was just looking for zombies, and I have found you a zombie, Josh. So let's put it to the paranormality scale. What do you reckon?
I mean, that's got to be quite high, isn't it? Because it's facts. It's
there. Think so, yeah.
I mean, the believability scale is... You have to believe it. It's real.
Well, yeah. There's been documented cases of it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the American government have a system in place, like a filing record.
Oh, do you reckon they got a container of sexy flies?
No.
And they're like, I'm going to start the zombie apocalypse. Release the flies!
I mean, if any government was going to do it. But no,
Actually, to mention that, right, the American government does have a bill in place in case there's a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, you literally took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, but they claim it's for, like, military trainees and like Quantico and stuff like that. So it's like a case study for people who do military strategy to actually come up with ways of defending against the zombie apocalypse. It's not actually in place because they believe a zombie apocalypse is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting training program for the people who have to come up with these things,
Yeah, I remember a few years ago as well, that. Do you remember when zombies were all the rage because of Walking Dead?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in Leeds. They had an abandoned mall that you could pay and do like airsoft. So you had a bunch of actors and actresses.
Oh yeah, I think they did, didn't they? Yeah.
Parading around as zombies, and you just go in like I think it's Dawn of the Dead or whatever in the mall.
Yeah, we were like Nerf guns or something.
Yeah, and then they have to pretend that they're dead and make noises. I'd love to do that. That'd be cool.
That would be quite fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of zombies, so I'm going to give this. I'm going to give it a 9.4.
9.4.
Yeah.
Crikey!
Yeah.
I was only thinking around 8.
How? It's been proven. You've done the research.
Yeah, but the only reason why I'm marking it down, right, from 9.9 is, we've got a lot of symptoms here that accurately describe a zombie. But the one thing that's missing is the walking dead. You're not dead while you're a zombie. You see what I mean?
Ah, yes, I see what you're saying. You're just kind of like a vegetable in a way, but you're still technically alive. Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to come down to 8.5.
Well, now that you've said that, I think I went too high, didn't I?
I think a little bit high at 9.4. Yeah.
Just straight in at a 9.4. I was just buzzing up with zombies. Yeah, I think you have got a good point, actually. I'll give it an 8.8.
8.8?
Yeah.
What did I say? 8.5?
Yeah. I'm sure you said 8.5.
Yeah. So that would give us an average of 8.65.
Yeah.
8.65. That's pretty good.
I mean, it's up there.
It is up there. And like I said, it is a real thing. The only thing it's missing is the fact that it doesn't animate the dead.
Yeah.
But I think that's beyond physical things, isn't it?
Yeah, that's some
there's
witchcraft.
Nothing that actually animates the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's my case. That's my zombie.
That is as close as you can get to actual zombies. So well done. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with that. Especially, what was it? The ball sack or whatever you called it.
The ball sack.
The green. The green
brood sack.
That's it.
Green banded brood sack.
Green branded brood sack.
Yeah.
That's a tongue twister.
It is a bit
You
of
got
a
to say
tongue
that
twister.
slowly,
Green
otherwise.
banded brood sack. Say it fast 10 times.
Well, I don't know because
I don't think you should on the podcast.
I think we're gonna have to censor that. The comment. I don't know if that's PG, so I don't know. I mean, people have got them, but I don't know. I was trying to struggle then to think of the actual word. Scrotum. You don't have to censor that.
Well, no, you don't have to. I'm not going to censor green banded ball sack, to be honest.
What?
No, you can have a sack of soccer balls. We used to put all our soccer balls in a sack at the end of PE lesson. That's a ball sack.
You've just given me a hall pass for saying ball sack on the podcast.
I know I don't have to go and find a bleep to put over it.
I'm going to stop saying it because I've already said it like 5 times. I'm having too much fun saying it now.
PG.
Well done, mate. I'm impressed.
Thank you, mate. Anyway, that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you are a fan of The Last of Us and you're waiting for the next series, then I hope that this has brought you some kind of... it would put you at ease that you're not going to be turned into a zombie from any fungus that's in your biscuits or your cake, because that's impossible. Even if the world does heat up by another couple of degrees, it's not going to happen. But you might get an amoeba, or you might get bitten by a sexy fly. So, you could still turn into a zombie.
Swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts, exactly. Anyway, as always, drop us an email with your stories. If you found a fungus or a parasite that does an even better job of turning people into a zombie, let me know.
If you have an amoeba, please write in.
If you have an amoeba, you've got a very short amount of time to write in, so definitely do it.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe, comment on YouTube, and spread the word. Give us a rating. We love you all. And until next week, I've been Pirate.
I'm Josh.
And this has been Paranormality UK. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.